It's a drinking on assignment.
I swear to God. Non, je te jure, guys, I swear to God, de un, ça fait plaisir de vous voir parce que ça fait quelque temps que nous pas fait bail ça. Et puis finalement, I just want to get back to the basics of the fun of just us just getting together and just talking about, what keeps us grounded and why we keep doing this thing for whatever reason. We just keep, just for some reason calling ourselves photographers. But yeah, moi-même personnellement, for some reason, the theme today, parce qu'on avait déjà le premier thème, mais vis-à-vis qu'on a changé d'agenda. So I'm just like, you know what? Let me just pick up the first thing that came up to my head. Et comme c'est une conversation, a conversation I already had with Dimitri a couple of whiles back. I was like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing recently? How are you keeping yourself challenged? Like, dude, I have no recollection of the last time I picked up my camera. So it just got me thinking today about like, yeah, because a lot of people keep complaining about, their art is not, getting better and they're not producing the work that they want to have or not growing as much as they would want to. And most often is the case, we'll all notice this, is because there are some very significant, dumb, simple reasons why your photography sucks. So I just thought we'd just go around the table and just like openly, candidly, and totally unapologetically just dive into this. Because I'm sure we've all been guilty of that at some point, way or another. So just like randomly, we're here for an hour together anyway. Again, it's great to see you guys. Sorry for the long hiatus. And yeah, beer. So,
cheers.
Cheers. So I'm sure Google Hangouts has nothing against us having beer in the broadcast. I'm just like just I'm guessing the language maybe, but this is our corner, little corner of the internet, and let's make it our own. So first and foremost, it's good to see you guys. How's everybody been doing?
Good, man.
Great.
Busy, but good.
That's always good.
Trying to stay busy. Playing with the new camera.
Viv, I noticed this. So now you're a Canon shooter.
Yes.
Yeah, he has switched to the dark side.
I'm trying to understand I'm trying to understand this. I saw your post over Facebook and like, okay. And again, kudos to you for your portraiture because again, it's getting even more insane and more insane and more insane because
Thank you.
You've been doing some great stuff. I really, really appreciate everything you're doing. It's some like it really every time I'm still like, oh man.
Thank you.
But it's true, unapologetically so. But wait a second, what's the story behind that? It's from Sony to Canon.
I was actually planning to move to Nikon.
Okay.
And I was saving money for that, and I just went on the Camtech website, camera store in Montreal, and just on the used section, there was a 5D Mark II for $1,500.
How dare you use a used equipment? How dare you?
With the lens, like with the 24-105.
With the lens, $1,500. That is actually a solid buy.
So I just tax return was coming up, and I was just
that tax return.
This is the time. Like I'm switching to Canon right now. So the next day I just went there and I got the camera.
There you go. Because if you think about it way too long, you just might not. The same way I'm sitting around wanting to buy a laptop because I'm really, really, really overdue for a new laptop because I'm just like, okay, I just need a station to actually work because mine went kaput a long time ago and then I had children.
Yeah.
Plural. But yeah, but definitely, man, definitely. James, how you been doing, man? Hey, by the way, congratulations on the new handle on Instagram, the Street Zen. That's really doing well, man. That's really doing well.
Thanks. I've been waiting for years for Instagram to give us the opportunity to have different accounts because I mean, obviously, I post a lot of life snapshots on my regular Instagram, and I don't necessarily would like use it as a. If somebody would ask me, well, "Oh, you're a photographer. Do you have an Instagram?" I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable to give them my personal Instagram for the reasons, well, because it's a bunch of food pictures and. and whatnot. But now with the Street Zen is that I can actually just put my street photography on that and. What I like about it is that most of the people who follow me on it are not people that I know, and so I get a lot of so when I get feedback on that, I know that it's not like, oh, that guy's my friend, so he's giving me that like. it's just like random people from all across the world. Like I have people that like pictures from Australia. And also the best thing about it is when so I obviously I also follow like a lot of street photographers mostly that I pretty much admire, and some of them have liked my pictures, and I'm like, whoa, wow, this guy has liked my pictures. So yeah, so that's a lot of fun.
That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun. I have to say, because for some reason the new communication image, at least visually speaking, because Gary Vaynerchuk coined it a long time ago that we'd be shifting from Facebook to Instagram. And he predicted that Facebook would buy Instagram, and now that he predicted that the new medium now is Snapchat. I don't know about you guys. I'm not on Snapchat. I'm on a social media purge. Basically, I said like, you know what? I'm cutting it off at Instagram. After Instagram, I'm done. Personally speaking, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I'm not on Pinterest. I'm not on Pinterest. I'm not on Snapchat. I've heard of LO at some point in the distant whatever, this other platform that I do not care for. But visually speaking, at least Instagram has been the new medium for whether corporations or anybody. But again, we've gravitated away from just food pictures to actually an actual method of communication where people tell their lies visually. But it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. But you guys are doing some great stuff, I have to say. So just kudos to you guys.
I'm still shooting Nikon. I mean, I'm still. Yesterday was May the 4th, so I'm still on the. I haven't switched to the dark side. But I do shoot Olympus and Recoil as well. So.
Did you guys see Star Wars?
Yeah.
I haven't. No.
You haven't?
No.
I have to say, not that we're digressing. I have to say, but I was pleasantly surprised on two levels. Because personally, I have basically sworn off trailers. Because for some reason the studios are in a mad dash to spoil everything for me in 2.5 minutes. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm not watching trailers. So I actually resisted any possible form of marketing for Star Wars. So I went into it with a total virginity. I have no idea what I'm getting into. And I think that heightened the experience for me because there was a lot of nostalgia involved. It's not that I'm a Star Wars geek, but I can appreciate the nostalgia going into it. So just 2.5 hours of solid entertainment. It was good. Not the best movie ever. Yes, I said it, but it's actually a very good movie. For what it's worth, for the package that you're not just moviegoers, but also the fans. I have to say that the producers, the directors, the writers, the actors, the entire team behind it, a very solid production. I have to say it's definitely worth it. It's totally worth the hype. I have to say.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the best one since the original trilogy.
Definitely, totally.
Even though George Lucas was hating pretty strong, but dude, he made 3 terrible movies. So
dude, you sold the thing.
And he made billions.
You sold the thing. You made your billions. Like just go take a rest. Go enjoy. Go burn money. Go burn money. But we're digressing, but I don't care. So we're just talking about the couple of reasons or the couple of experiences that we've had, personally, or the thing we've observed over the course of the years as to how your craft can suffer from various mistakes or habits or anything. Let me throw it out to you, Viv. Just because again, I didn't make a list. I didn't make any show notes whatsoever. But just launching it out there, if off the top of your head, just give me one item you can think of, that would basically where people just do not pay attention and where your craft can suffer, like the mistakes people make all the time.
I think the first mistake is just being satisfied of your work. I think that's the first mistake people do. Like your friend tell you you have some likes on your Facebook page and you're just satisfied with what you have and you think my pictures are cool. And maybe they are, I don't know. I feel like at some point you should feel that they suck. You should feel that your own pictures suck at some point and want to do better. And as soon as you're satisfied with your pictures, you never improve. You stop improving, you stop working at them, and then you start sucking. Because I'm going to see the same picture over and over and over again. And even if they were good at the beginning, or I liked them in the beginning, if nothing improves during a few months or years, you're going to end up sucking because other people are going to get better. And I don't think you should ever feel that your pictures are good.
it goes back to always saying that, you know, we're our own worst critic. But what's the flip side? How would you suggest us getting over that hurdle? What's the remedy to that in your opinion?
Just keep working. Just looking at, I don't know, looking at other pictures, and keep producing pictures. And don't get too depressed when you feel that your pictures suck, which also can happen. And you just, okay, my pictures suck. This is why, and this, like, you feel happy about your picture for a minute, and then you just improve them. You can just keep working.
But
That's the first step. Like, whatever your level in photography is, just keep working and getting better.
keep working. I have to say that's true because you will come across that circumstance where, okay, there's that part of being your own worst critic, and there's that part where your picture, yes, does suck because you don't have the critical eye, and yes, you will dive into that unfortunate side effect where people, again, close to you, family, friends, whatsoever, oh yeah, like, encouragement, and yes, it's like the most awesome picture ever. It's like, well, it's not, but if you fall into that trap, like you say, baby, if you fall into that trap of just like, you know, eating, just basically you're drinking your own Kool-Aid, it does you a disservice, basically.
Because the other thing also is that when you stop working, it becomes a habit. And when photography becomes a habit, your picture, you can feel it in your pictures. When you don't work at them, when you don't look to improve them, and it becomes this, okay, I know how to do this, let me get that shot, and you get over and over again, your pictures slowly and slowly become boring because you don't work at them. So I think eventually even other people can see them. Like if you produce the same pictures over and over again, at some point, like, because you're not going to see the little details anymore that makes that would make those pictures better.
Okay.
So being complacent about your own work, it won't only suck for you. I think like at some point, others will also feel that, okay, yeah, you're not working at them anymore. Like there's no passion in your pictures. Because it's not fun anymore.
Go ahead,
but that's the interesting part, because I feel that when you just start, you have this huge drive. I don't know, personally, I started, I was taking pictures of everything, like still life, random objects on the streets, like pretty much everything. And you have this drive to, because everything is new to you, so you're just playing with your camera and you're discovering settings, you're discovering bokeh, like limited depth of field and all that stuff. And that's the first thing generally that gets you excited when you buy a DSLR or a larger sensor camera, is that you get that background blur, and that's pretty much what separates your pictures from a normal point and shoot or your cell phone. And you get super excited, so you shoot all the time at 1.4 or 1.8. But at that point, you have a lot of passion, but you don't have a lot of skills. And then as the more and more you go, you're actually gaining your skills and you actually know what you're doing. I guess sometimes your passion is actually goes, I want to say stops, but it gets to a plateau. Like you're not as excited anymore. You like everybody says, you have your habits, and at one point you just go to the motions pretty much. Like especially like if you also do this as a job, a lot of times like you'll be shooting assignments that you don't necessarily, I don't want to say don't care for, but that don't really go to get you, that you're not passionate about. So you're shooting events and all that stuff, and you're just going through the motions. Like, yeah, I got my right exposure, and you're not really looking for anything special. So at that point, yes, you have the skills, you have reached a certain level of maturity in your photography, but since the passion is not there, then your pictures still suck. So I think it's about combining the two to keep owning your skills, keep shooting all the time, but also find new ways to still stimulate that passion. And that could be by trying a different genre of photography. I remember when I moved to Peru 2 years ago, it was the thing. I was like, okay, Peru is such a nice country with so I was not a landscape person at all, but I started shooting landscapes, and that was new. So it was kind of, it's definitely not the same thing as shooting people. So I was going back again to reading on it, following other photographers, because before obviously I would follow more street photographers, portrait photographers, and then I would start looking at what landscape photographers do and their recommendations. So it kind of brought back a little bit of that passion. And it's the same. Like you can also go to another genre. I think there's a lot of ways to get back that passion, but sometimes that's I think the paradox, that the more you're good at it, sometimes you're less excited about it.
You level out. You eventually reach a plateau where it becomes your comfort zone, and you can one or two things can happen. You can actually, like you said, basically just sit on your hands and just never do anything any different. Your style will remain the same. Not that your picture is necessarily going to be bad. It's just that you're going to reach this point of comfort and complacency where normally the evolution of your art isn't going to get any further. So there's nothing worse for an artist or a creative person to actually reach a point where you don't feel driven, you don't feel challenged, you don't feel compelled to produce different work, where also you can actually take a conscientious, humble pie look at your work and say, like, you know what, how can I flip this on its head and try something new? I can actually attest to that when you're trying to do still life, when you're trying to do street. For me, a very significant point where I really can actually say I was like, I took a leap of faith in terms of creativity was when I did that workshop for nudes, where I was like, wow, okay, this is again, for obvious reasons, but on the creative side, remaining creative,
Sure.
I'm still very proud of that session. I really am. First of all, because it was a great learning experience. I got to work with a photographer I'd been following for a really long time, Michel Feugeat out of Trois-Rivières. He does some really beautiful work, some awesome combination. He's a great teacher, it's awesome composition, I'm sorry. Great teacher, great person, great personality. The group was very dynamic, some extraordinary photographers in Montreal. Everybody having their day job. Some professional photographers in the group, but it was a very energetic and synergic and it was a very organic experience. And for me, having never done that and exploring the human lines and the body and how it's designed and the human body itself as an element of composition, just following lines, following the light, natural light, lighting, how do you drape, how do you compose just with the human body, and it's just the communication with your subject. You yourself, you're realizing, are you prude, or can you just like go out of your comfort zone and realize, okay, this is your subject, this is your model, and you need to make this image happen. And I still look at that session with a lot of pride and telling myself, like, wow, that is one point in my creativity where I just like, okay, I let everything go and I opened up to the experience. So you definitely should challenge yourself. I do believe that. That's a very good point of view. Thank you. Really, really good point. James, throwing it back to you. What other things can you think about in terms of mistakes that we make along our path?
I think generally also, again, going back to that, like at different levels you have different skills and different levels of engagement. I think when you start, you tend, because your pictures are not necessarily really good out of camera, over editing is something that I see a lot with beginners and people that like, yeah, and I don't really remember, there was this curve about like the HDR at one point in your photography you reached that.
I need to find that.
That curve was brilliant, and it's actually,
need to find that graph.
and it's definitely true. Like a lot of people, so like you get impressed with the bokeh, with the limited depth of field, and then you start like dragging that clarity and filter and then pushing the shadows and removing the highlights completely, and you get like this super surreal looking terrible file. But a lot of people, and the thing is, because, and again, it goes back to a bit of that feedback thing, which is what I said that I liked about the Street Zen, was that I was getting feedback from photographers, because for the untrained eye, to say it like this, that's HDR stuff for a lot of people will actually look good, because it doesn't look like pictures that they can take themselves. And I think a lot of times that's how your surroundings, people that are not photographers, will, wow, oh, this guy is really good because he's doing something that I can't do or I don't know how to do. It's not that the aesthetics are there. It's really more like, oh, okay, so this picture, he has like the background is completely blurred. This is so awesome. I can't do this. How do you do this? You must have a really nice camera. Or the same thing with HDR. And I think that's why sometimes you have to make sure the kind of feedback you're getting is also from people who actually know what they're talking about, you know?
get critique from somebody you respect, I believe. No.
Yeah. So editing, I think more and more, I think I'm learning that less is more. Editing is definitely, I think, a situation where less is more. I'm not like a JPEG preacher that you should get your shot right in camera, or you don't. I really don't believe that. I think a raw format is pretty much like a negative, that it's, because at the end of the day, when you shoot JPEG, the camera is pretty much what you're doing is you're saying, I don't know how to interpret this. I'm letting the camera interpret it for me, because it's processing that's going on the camera. So basically, what you're doing when you're shooting raw is that you're the one that's interpreting the data. But I think it's all about like expressing really what you saw in that scene, but not overblowing it out of proportion and getting out of photography. And it's very interesting that now you have this debate is very present right now in the world of news, for example, that it got to the point where maybe 2 years in a row, World Press Photo winners were highly controversial because the pictures were way too edited.
Okay.
And we're talking about news, and so if in the context of news you're doing it too much, and imagine fashion, etc. So,
well, wasn't it a very high point of contention when a lot of people were debating about the fact that, okay, we do not, there's no way we want you to edit your photos for World Press Photo, for AP and stuff like that. There's no.
Yeah, right now it's Reuters doesn't accept RAWs anymore, so you have to send in the JPEGs. And
are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because
I did not know this.
The reason that they got to the point is because the people were abusing the editing. So they went to the other extreme, and they're just like, okay, we can't just keep having this happening, so we're just gonna just ban it.
I did not know this, you guys.
Yeah.
Wow. So I have to send in the JPEGs.
Yep, you have to send in the JPEGs.
Okay.
But then again, like your camera gives you the opportunity to create filters yourself and presets, so you can also edit any camera and send JPEGs from your camera. So but I think there's also for Reuters, it was also about the speed of the processing. So they're encouraging people to send the pictures now, because news is, especially right now in the context of people having cell phones and Wi-Fi enabled cameras, you can't wait anymore for news. So you can't pretty much report for a guy to have his RAWs and go back home and edit the pictures. You have to send them now. So I think that's also what they're going for.
Wow. Wow. Okay, I was just floored right now. I had no idea. See, I've been disconnected from the industry for so long, and I haven't been taking too much attention to certain details. But wow.
Yeah, for the fact that big controversy
for Reuters to not take RAWs anymore. Okay, that is telling.
It's not just that they don't take RAWs. They don't take you don't take, like, if you shoot RAW and you edit it in Lightroom and you send the JPEGs, they won't accept it. They have to send straight out of camera pictures. They'll check your EXIF, and if they see that you use a RAW developer, then they won't accept your files.
If you guys, oh, by the way, if you guys check the chat in this discussion, I just forwarded you a link to the life cycle of the photographer. You'll actually get it.
Oh, you found the.
Yeah, I found the. I found the graph.
Get shared again, like this deserves.
Because Flickr becomes relevant in that graph. If I remember well, there was the Flickr phase.
Yeah.
Which is pretty relevant now, but.
Flickr is also just did like this huge suicide move. I don't know if you guys also heard this, but Flickr last year announced with a lot of fanfare that they were going to give 1 terabyte of free storage to everybody. So a couple of people got mad because they had paid Flickr Pro, and then a lot of people were like, "Hey, yay! I can use Flickr not only as an output, but also as a storage service, like as a cloud service." But now they announced that all of those pictures that you had uploaded, if you want access to them, you have to pay. So pretty much right now, everybody's just like, no, okay, that's it, I'm off Flickr. Like,
yeah, so what's the limit they give you now again?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't remember, but they really scaled it back, and then all the files that you had uploaded, like, well, you can't really access them if you don't pay, if you're already over that limit.
No, it's pretty ridiculous. Well, Flickr is dying a
Yeah.
little bit every year, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think that was the final nail in the coffin, really.
But
To
I
be
have to
honest.
say, Flickr tried for a very significant amount of time to actually stay relevant and upgrade themselves, like giving you a terabyte of storage, making the display more streamlined, and
Looking like 500px.
seriously, the first time that I saw the revamp, I'm like, oh, okay, this is so 500px ish. You guys are trying way too hard, way too hard.
I like the old display. Like, I don't know why they changed it, to be honest.
Me too.
It was to be more mobile friendly. Like if you saw the redesigned architecture, it was really
Yeah,
for
on the
tablets.
iPhone it was better, but on the
But
computer,
on the yeah,
it
absolutely.
changed the whole experience.
Wow, but seriously,
It became kind of confusing. Like
they-
there's a lot of things that were more obvious. You had your little text under, and then your little section with the exif on the right,
they
and then it became
tried.
so.
They tried, but it really wasn't. It really didn't really help them. It really didn't help them because, hey, everybody was just looking at it. First of all, everybody was telling themselves, like, why would you go to Flickr? Like, of all places, like, seriously, don't you know of Facebook? Have you heard of Facebook? Have you heard of
Yeah, I
Facebook?
think it was in that time where social media were still like segmented. So you use Facebook for connecting with your friends. You used Skype to talk. You had so many different platforms, and the trend right now is pretty much concentration. I'm not sure that's a good thing for a lot of reasons. But right now, it's definitely where it's heading. Facebook is no longer a social network. If you think about it, Facebook is so much more than that, and they're buying everything else.
No, Facebook right now has become a bona fide media aggregator because if you have the New York Times publishing their stories directly on Facebook rather than via their paywall, and they're aware of this, there's a very huge debate about how the media companies can market the present, because Facebook's tool is not to actually connect you, but more to keep you on Facebook as long as possible. Let's not forget that. So the media companies, and
you barely connect with people anymore.
No, you don't. I swear, I was like,
all your
I have to be here.
pages, and
I have to be here to connect with you guys. So it just goes to show, because where it used to be a point where in the beginning I could actually connect to Facebook and see, okay, this is what Viv is going through, this is what Dimitri is doing. It's like there actually used to be a stream of people I actually give a crap about, but now I have to say where I'm just like the noise and the content. I'm like, no, this is not working for me.
You have the noise that you choose to have, the pages that you like, but then also so many ads now. Like it's like, to me it scares me. Like I go to B&H and I check like the price of the camera, and then all of a sudden my Facebook wall it's just the camera. It's right there, and it shows me like it's on sale now. So like like the pressure to press that buy is so much stronger.
Well, for my take, I have to say, Viv talked about resting on your laurels. Viv's talking about over editing. In terms of, for me, I have to say, as dumb as it sounds, I have to say a mistake that people common make, in my personal opinion, I've been guilty of this, is because you don't cater to your gear. You don't know your gear. But a lot of people will take for granted the fact that, okay, I need to buy the equipment. Once it's always about this. Once I have that camera, once I have that software, once I have that lighting, once I have that strobe, once I have that filter, I'll be able to be awesome. Do you know how to use it? When it comes to you, when you eventually get that in your hand, do you know how to use this equipment? The best example I can give, my very first DSLR was a Nikon D80. But when I bought it, I knew that camera from the back of my hand because I went online, I went on reviews, I downloaded the manual from the website. I couldn't afford it, but eventually, because eventually I was saving up for it, but my girlfriend, now my wife, eventually bought it for me for my birthday. But eventually, when I actually got the camera, it was a new to me. It was like, okay, now that I have this tool, this is what I'm going to do with it, and this is how. And to this day, it still works fine. But I know this camera very in and out, and I know, okay, this is what it can do, and these are its limitations. For example, I know that my D80, it takes extraordinarily well good pictures. It does solid RAW. It's got all the resolution I need for any basic solid assignment, but it doesn't do well in low light. I know it doesn't do well in low light. That's why I know I need an off-camera flash. I need my flash by me if I'm going to do some low level lighting. but you have to know your gear. You have to know your gear. And a lot of people take that for granted. There is a learning curve. Yes, your creativity is limitless, but you should not neglect the fact that you are supposed to adopt a certain learning curve in terms of technicality and prowess, in terms of evolving your craft. And if you don't do that, there's a reason why you're in a stalemate, because you do not put in the time, work, and efficiency towards mastering your gear. A lot of people, we're here a lot, okay, it's not about the gear, but a lot of people take that for granted as an excuse to not get better or master the new tools that are coming out, whether it's in software or in hardware. It's just my personal take. I'm not sure what you guys think about it.
Yeah, I completely agree that you have to know your gear. I'm not saying you have to read every single page of the manual, but sometimes it's just for little details. Like I don't know, I don't necessarily have an example in mind, but like if, for example, like you said, you have a camera and then you realize, okay, I can't shoot above ISO 1600. So you get, okay, I'm gonna get a flash. But if you're gonna use your flash and just not use the bouncer and just shoot it straight at people, then then you might have well just keep using your built-in flash, you know. It's actually going to make it worse because it's going to be overpowering. So it's definitely about understanding what your gear needs are, and then putting in the work, like you said, to know how to use them. And like I'll confess, like to this day, there's some buttons on my D7000 that I don't really know what they're there for. Like the other day, I locked my camera without knowing, because there's a button to lock the mirror. It's for cleaning the camera. And I was like, hey, my shutter's not working. What the hell? And no, it was just a lock button that's just on the camera. But no, it's just small things, like just using, for example, the autofocus lock button. It's something that when I just started, I didn't use a lot, but now I use it all the time when I'm shooting, for example, concerts or dance shows, that you want to move your camera, but you don't want your metering to change, so you just lock the exposure. It's something that, you know, it's a small thing if you think about it, but it's something that maybe you never find out if you don't put in the work, like you say.
You have to be very consistent in terms of, again, okay, I'm not asking, like you said, we don't need to read the manual from cover to cover, but what you need in terms of how you want to produce and the art you want to produce and the shots you want to produce, and you have to stop saying, because like you said, there are some features, I swear to you, that most of the photographers out there, even seasoned ones, there are some features in your camera that you just have no idea about. And you know why? Because you don't need them, or because you don't care to find out. Either way, you should stop, using the excuse that, oh, I need better gear, I need better gear. There are some people who can sit down and tell you word for word, point by point, this is why I need this new gear. But a lot of people, and I've seen this throughout the course of the industry, especially again with the manufacturers, and again upgrading and upgrading, because you guys know this. The evolution of gear has been about sensors and pixels and HDR.
42 megapixels now, 50 megapixel cameras.
Why do I need 50 megapixels for just one image? Why?
So you can buy a new computer. I think it's just a conspiracy between the computer companies, the chip makers. I think they're also like, okay, the market is saturated. Nobody's going to buy our products anymore. We have to force them. So Canon put out that 50 megapixel camera, so people will have to buy a new Mac and a new screen and new hardwares, and now your 16 gig SD card becomes obsolete. You're going to have to go for the 64. I think it's a conspiracy.
Wow. Yeah, but it's just something, it was a personal pet peeve of mine. I'm not sure how you feel about it, Viv.
No, I agree. Well, I just bought a camera, and like, it's when you know your gear, it's also easier to justify buying new gear. When you know, like,
because you know the limits.
Yeah, like yeah, I need my camera to do this, and my camera won't do it, and I'm tired of fighting with my camera to get that shot. So that's why I need this
particular piece of software,
or just a new camera in my case.
Definitely.
But it could be a flash, it could be for a new lens, it could be for, because you know what kind of shot you want and what your gear can give you, and if you know the limitations, and you can justify it, and you have a good reason for it, it becomes easier to justify it also getting new gear. But I can definitely see the jump from buying my new camera. Like, Like there were shots that I'm taking. Like I know I could have taken them with my old camera.
But you would have fought.
You would have fought for
so
it.
much harder.
And now it took me like on the third shot, I had the shot where it was before I was okay. I took for example, one of the portraits I took of my girlfriend was at ISO 1600. Came out clean, like no noise reduction, nothing. Like my old camera, I had to really think like, do I really want to put it ISO 1600? Like, do I really want to do that?
How do I really want to do this? Do I really want to put myself to this?
Like even ISO 800 was okay. Like I'm gonna do like some cleaning up to do. Like 1600 was like, okay, it's gonna be grainy. Like, do I want this picture to be grainy? Like, is it okay if it's grainy? If it's not, like I cannot shoot. Or like I would have to get a faster lens or hold longer shutter speed and make sure like I'm stable enough. I need a tripod? So it would be super complicated. Now I just like push that ISO. Like now I'm learning. I have a new learning process where I just learn my new camera and get new shot because of it. Because to come back to the Dimitri's point, I have something new to learn, so I'm excited about it once again, and then so I shoot more and I learn other stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, learning your gear is pretty important.
I think, well, and also getting new gear sometimes will have that effect of like sometimes rekindling that passion. I remember when I got my Olympus, for example, I was going through that phase, I guess, that most DSLR owners go to, that your camera is cumbersome. So, like, for example, people invite me over, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to drag my DSLR. And then I got the Olympus, and then all of a sudden I started bringing it everywhere again. It was just in my backpack, and then all of a sudden, like, it just brought back that passion. Or when you get I don't know, for example, the first time I bought a ultra wide lens, it was so amazing because I was shooting like so wide, like just new perspectives completely. So just make me to go to take shots I don't necessarily take, and brought back some of that excitement again. I think the difference when we talk about the necessity of upgrading is to make the difference between you have a camera that you don't master, and then you're like Olivier said, you're using it as an excuse. You're like, oh, my camera's not good enough. If I had the A7 Mark VI with 100 megapixels, I could probably take better shots. Or if the camera is getting in the way, which I think was what Bertie's saying, if your camera is getting in the way, like for example, if you're a wedding shooter, and so you shoot at churches all the time, and then you have a camera that can't go above ISO 800, then you just can't do it. like yeah, sure, you can spend hours on noise reduction, but then again, you start a wedding, so you have like 6,600 shots, so you don't want to be spending like 3 months trying to just clean out noise on pictures, you know? So I think when you reach that point where your camera gets in the way, then it's definitely that you're due for an upgrade. But on the flip side, obviously, is that there's this, it's so frenetic right now, like the rhythm that new cameras are coming out, and it's always like you're getting more, but are you really getting more? Like I was comparing shots from a 16 megapixel APS-C camera and a 36 megapixel full frame camera. And obviously, yes, the full frame camera has a better pixel pitch. The pictures look better, but then because it's 36 megapixel, if you're not using like a top-notch lens, you'll see the defects, you'll see the chromatic aberration, you'll see all of that.
There's so many
if
parameters.
You're shaking, if you're not stable, you'll see it even more. So it requires way more discipline, basically. So and this is where we're going. Like we might complain about it, but I'm pretty sure the next generations of, although Nikon did surprise me that Nikon was at 24 megapixel for the APS-C line, and then they released the D500 with 20. Like they cut back.
Isn't that telling though? Isn't that showing that the manufacturers
and it's a professional camera.
It's a professional camera.
So they know that the pros don't care about 24. What they care about is better low light performance, maybe better dynamic range.
Don't give me more pixels. Give me better pixels.
And I took the A7, I said Mark VI just to make fun a little bit of Sony, because they're the ones that are releasing more cameras like every 3 months, it feels like. But a lot of people, I was reading multiple reviews, like Sony has the A7R that has 42 megapixels, but most pros I've seen use the A7, you actually use the A7S, which has 12 megapixels.
There
So it's
you
a
go.
better build camera, it doesn't overheat during video, the video specs are much better, and it shoots ISO 100 to 1000. So it's very interesting to see that, that you have the actual consumer cameras that are going for higher specs, bells and whistles, and the pro cameras are actually focusing on more on the essentials.
The essentials. The bare bones essentials, because you realize, again, you have to speak to a professional to realize what they care about, because the manufacturers, you have to admit it to them, because marketing is marketing, and it's always the almighty dollar that's going to decide. This is why we've seen an explosion of video features on whether consumers or professional grade cameras. Everybody's doing video now. For some reason, you had to have HD video on every single new camera that came out.
You have to have 4K.
You have to have 4K now. It's important.
Even though you don't have the display for it.
You don't have the display for it. You don't have the processing power for it. But hey, you have to have a 4K.
And now they're coming out with 6K, 8K.
I don't know. I really don't know. Are we old school? Are we complaining? Are we old folks? I'm understanding. Are we complaining for no reason, or
I turned 30 this year, so I guess yeah.
But definitely,
I don't think. It's not I'm not complaining about it. I mean, I'm all for technological advances. Like, it's kind of fantastic that your cell phone today, like right now I have a Nexus 5X, and it takes better pictures than point-and-shoot cameras from pretty much like 2-3 years ago,
Easily.
And then that's kind of amazing. So it makes you think maybe in 5 years, I don't know, the iPhone at that point will equal maybe Micro Four Third quality or APS-C quality today, which is fantastic.
Which is
think
fantastic.
about it.
Pretty
So I'm not going to complain about that. I'm just kind of also wondering sometimes, like, how sustainable is it as a model, like for consumers? Because the consumers might fall for it at first, but then you realize when you buy that 42 megapixel camera and you realize that you actually have no use for it, then you're not going to make that same mistake again,
There you go. The manufacturers know that at some point you have to have the balance. You have to serve the professionals, which have been making, most of your commercial, most of your production, and most of your promotion throughout
most of your marketing.
career. Most of your marketing goes through the professionals, because the consumer itself are going to walk through the store, buy the big bulky DSLR or Micro Four Third or whichever knocks their fancy and you want to shell out money for, and eventually, like you said, they're going to find it cumbersome, and then they're going to do the instinctual thing, which is pull out their iPhone or Android, whichever. I don't care which team you are, but the phone has become the new photographic medium.
And they're going to sell me their camera for $1,500. So I'm okay with it.
For the longest time, I have to say, most of my accessories and accessory photo gear have come from Kijiji. I have to say, because a lot of people, you get through that mindset. And my wife was always asking me, why do you always buy used? Because there's somebody who doesn't care, who thought they'd be getting, like, the greatest photo ever. They'd be the next Adi Leibovitz, and they realize, oh, I have to learn this thing, and then they put it up for Kijiji. So annoying. Sell it.
No, you find great deals, man. Like, I remember one day I recommended to somebody who asked me for advice to buy used, and she's like, "Oh no, I don't want to buy used. Like, I don't know. Like, what if it doesn't work?" And you're like, "Well, if you buy, let's say from Camtech, where we've already mentioned that he bought his 5D, it has a 3-month warranty. So if there's something wrong with it, you'll figure it out." Definitely. And also, sometimes, like, you'll find cameras. I've seen cameras on Kijiji that had been used, like, I don't know, I had 500 shutter clicks. Like, that's ridiculous. That's pretty much a new camera.
You've never touched the thing, so
and then it was like 40% less. So obviously,
bored.
like,
you eventually got bored. It's like, oh, this is complicated. Oh, I don't have to shoot on auto. Really? No, let me just use my iPhone. It's a lot easier. Let me use my iPhone. I'd rather use my iPhone. It's a lot easier. It's a lot simpler. There is a learning curve. Again, put in the time, put in the work. We're still going on the theme, but I think this is a nice segue into the fact that you should also put in the time. You want to get better, but if you don't shoot, what's the point? Again, it's like, how are you... Shoot often. And I know this. Again, I'm personally guilty of this. I haven't shot in a really long time. And I swear to God, I just renewed my my web URL here. Okay, shameless plug. And I realized that I looked at my most recent galleries, and I'm like, see,
That was like 8 months ago.
you're resting on your laurels, and you're like, I haven't shot in a really long time. And again, I may be making the excuses like, oh, I got busy and the job and the kids and everything,
That
but
was winter.
I'm
You're
not
not outside.
I'm not outside. But again, I'm not the only photographer married with children, but there are a lot of people
Who
who
lives in
make
a
it
cold
happen.
country?
They're making things happen. I remember this very interesting Google talk. That was a long years ago, but it was very appropriate for this conversation. Thomas Hawk, you know him, right?
Yep.
And he was basically doing a talk at Google, basically because again, everybody who knows Thomas Hawk has probably at least once asked himself the question, how the hell does he do it? Because the guy works a full-time job, and he still manages to produce. He's the guy of a million photos by the time he dies. But it's like, it's crazy. And he explains to you step by step that, I put in the work. I can actually reserve a ticket, leave Friday night, spend the weekend in New Jersey or something, and fly out Sunday, and I'm home to put my kids to bed on Sunday. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the work, you have to know how far you're willing to invest in yourself and your craft to actually get better, because hey, it's about what Malcolm Gladwell calls it 10,000 hours. You have to put in the time. You don't just wake up and you're the next Chase Jarvis. It doesn't happen that way. I'm sorry. Wouldn't it be wonderful? But it doesn't. You have to put in the time. It sounds stupid, and it applies to so many other fields other than just photography, but it is as cliche as it sounds. You have to put in the time. And unfortunately, I've seen this way too often where people just get discouraged about the fact that, oh, I thought my photography would be better, and I don't know what's going on. Are you shooting? No. Do you go over with your camera? No. Okay. Are you reading, like Vival just said, are you reading about other photographers? Are you connecting with other photographers? Are you analyzing the works of the masters? Stupid stuff that you read and know about, but again, if you don't apply it, again, you will get left in the dust, and a lot of people will be a lot better than you. I see awesome stuff like, on Instagram, again, awesome stuff for people shooting stuff on their phones. But again, you're actually lightings, leading lines, the basics. If you not put in the time, you will suffer for it. I'm talking a lot, but it's as simple as that.
Yeah, but it's true. Like, and the Michael Gladwell quote is something very similar to something Henri Cartier-Bresson said, that pretty much like your first 50,000 shots are your worst. I think it's the same exact spirit. But it's absolutely true. I think I also read, I think it was Tom Hogan or Ming Ting, one of these guys, who said when you're just starting with photography and you want to buy a DSLR, keep shooting for 6 months with your phone or which whatever you have, and then and in 6 months, if you haven't improved, then just keep shooting with it. Don't buy a camera. Only buy the camera where you get to that point where, okay, the camera, like I said, is getting in the way of what I'm trying to do right now. Like I've mastered lighting, I've mastered composition, I've mastered my apprehension of connecting with people to take their portraits, for example, if you shoot to people, and then okay, now I need a better camera. And it's true, like I shot a year and a half, 2 years before buying a DSLR with a Nikon point and shoot. That was like probably the worst camera ever, but that's where you learn,
What you just said, just really ignited something in me, because it really brought me back. When I first got to Montreal as a student and everything, my first camera, my very first digital camera, was a Fujifilm FinePix E500. It had 2 A batteries. It shot like what, 4 megapixels at highest resolution.
Yeah, and probably a 3x zoom.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And lo and behold, ask Asian, my wife, every Thursday, because I worked from I believe I worked from Saturday to Wednesday, because I would just work night shift. But on Thursday and Friday was my day off. So on Thursdays, because I used to work night shift, so during the day I would just be out in Montreal with my little Fujifilm FinePix, and I'm taking photos of graffiti, overpasses, highways, trees, parks. I was just exploring, because we know you don't care, and you have this little gear, and you do whatever you can. And I still am very jazzed about thinking about some of the photos I used to take, which I'm very still proud of. Right now, I'd look at them like, I would have shot it differently, but still, in the moment, it's something you took a lot of pride in, totally involved, totally engrossed you, and it's something that a lot of people take for granted.
Yeah, me, I learned with actually with a film camera. Like I knew like I cannot buy a camera right now and just like be bored after 2 months. Like so I just bought an old film camera on eBay and I just shot with it for what 8 months I think. And yeah, like again like when I got tired of spending for films and I got like I was it started to cost me a
Film is
lot of
not cheap.
money. Yeah, film is not cheap. and and I saw the pictures were getting better and better. I was like, okay, yeah, like I can see myself putting the money for a camera. And that's when I bought the Sony A300 that lasted until a month ago. So
But you
that's
see, that's the thing. Like, generally, that should be the process. Like, but people right now, I feel that they say, okay, they see people around them taking nice pictures, and they see them, oh, holy, right, he has that Canon Rebel or he has that Nikon D3000, and they immediately go for it. They don't learn before, and I think that's the biggest problem because they're only setting themselves up for disappointment because like I have so many people that I know that did this. They bought a camera and then 2 months later they're like, yeah, I don't get it. I'm not getting those blurry backgrounds, for example. And you're
Wow.
like, yeah, do you know what aperture is? Oh no, I just use it on auto.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know,
Yeah.
that's it. If you don't know the basics, then you could put like a D800 in the hands of a beginner. He's not gonna take good pictures, you know.
It will produce a crappy shot. I remember this one time I had a request from a colleague way back when, wrote me an email, and it was like, yeah, because I know you do this photo thing, and it was like, I'm trying to buy a professional camera, and I just want to know which camera should I buy. We've all been there, and all I said, and I was trying to be very, very cautious in what I was gonna say, because déjà in the way the question is asked and formulated,
Right.
I know I'm venturing into very uncomfortable territory. So I'm like, I try to keep it very decent. Like, okay, it's all about, again, whatever you can afford. And it's all the way that he described it. I'm not looking to buy something fancy, but that I know those big ones that are black with the red handle. Like, what? He's like, okay, this is not gonna go well. So I tried to be very, educational. It's like, listen, don't focus on the bells and whistles. Just buy whatever you can afford, and again, focus on what you're going to do with it. Are you just do you just need it to just shoot some parties, or just your weekends, or just a vacation, or do you really want to? When you say professional, what is it you're talking about? And he actually wrote me back saying, like, you know what, you're making this too complicated. I'm like, okay. It's like, sorry. I'm sorry. Again, I'm just trying.
just tell him to buy some Nikon D5500, whatever. Like he'll be happy. Like I don't know what to tell people anymore because they don't. First of all, they don't care what you like.
They don't care.
I don't know how many people are like, you don't need to buy DSLR, and they just stop listening.
Yeah,
Just
and
stop
they
listening.
go along and buy it.
You don't need it. You don't
Yeah.
need it, but they'll buy
It's
it
like,
anyway.
are you gonna buy lenses? Like, no, well, don't buy a DSLR.
Don't buy
Yeah,
DSLR.
why you buy an interchangeable lens camera if you're just gonna use the kit lens? Like
Just
you'll
the
be better
kit lens,
served with a compact that has a faster lens. But no, the
I remember
people
saying
just
someone like,
don't.
you should buy a RX 100, and I told him the price. I was like, well, for the same price, I can get like a Rebel. Like, yeah, but you're not gonna use a Rebel if you buy it. That's that simple. Like, if for the same price you can get a Rebel, you're not gonna shoot with the Rebel. Like, I know you won't. And
Because
like,
you're not gonna carry it anywhere because you're gonna think it's too cumbersome.
but that goes to, well, it kind of like a logical like point like comes right after. But you should know your gear, but you should know your fundamentals, like like the aperture, shutter speed, ISO. Like you should know those things before you get a camera, or as soon as you get it.
Yeah.
You should not, like, I heard people say like, yeah, I don't want to care about the technical stuff. Like I've more like I want to create images. Like I want to be like
I want to make awesome photos.
Yeah, I want to make pictures. Like it's just more about the eye and seeing things. But you're not. That's another reason why your photos suck. If you don't learn about aperture and shutter speed, I guarantee you will not. You once in a while you're gonna take a great pictures because the cameras are good enough. That once in a while you're gonna get a good picture. And
The cameras have been good for a really long time. People refuse to acknowledge it.
no, like everyone can take a good picture once in a while. Like I will admit that.
You're gonna luck out like a couple of times. The
Yeah.
composition will fall into place for you. Like the light will be fantastic that day.
But the thing is, like, to take a great picture when you need it.
Yeah, now that's
There
a
you
different
go.
story.
That's a different story.
So if you want to do
Under
that,
bad conditions, for example.
yeah, that's when you need to know your fundamentals.
You need to know the
To
fundamentals.
repeat what Zacharias always says, like, learn your fundamentals. Learn what your f stops and your like. If I turn down the shutter speed, if I
what's
turn
gonna
down,
happen?
like
How do I need to shoot the scene?
There you go. Like,
how do I need to shoot the scene?
Do I want to freeze the movement? Do I want the motion to appear? That's pretty much what it's about. It's about light and your fundamentals, you know.
It's so appropriate what you talked about. When you talk about the fundamentals, again, I think as you're talking, I'm thinking about the first wedding I ever shot. They had the wedding at 11:30 a.m. We're talking about a 45-minute reception, and of course the photos are right after the ceremony, so it's pitch noonday in a park. And everybody is wearing shades of like silver, gray, and the
like flashy thing. Everybody's a reflector.
Everybody's a reflector. It's like, yay! This is gonna be great. This is gonna be great.
There you go.
And you have to keep your calm because, like, okay, this scene is gonna be very tricky, and you're the only person in the entire crowd of guests who understands the sheer pain in the ass this situation is going to be in.
People see great sun, they say like it's great, it's going to be beautiful pictures.
It's going to be beautiful. and you want to kill everything that moves.
Stay on shadow.
Like I remember I was doing a photo shoot outside and it was cloudy outside and the person said like, yeah, that sucks, like it's a bunch of clouds and stuff, it's going to be a great picture. Like, no, like it's the total opposite. Like they're gonna look great. Like the light was amazing.
But people don't get that.
But if you start taking pictures and
then you know these things.
Then you know.
Yeah.
You need to know. You need to practice. You need to practice. You need to put this in. You need to put in the work. Put in the work. Man, guys, this is getting such a great, energetic conversation. I'm sorry we were just up the top of the hour. We're gonna have to shut this down. I apologize. But hey, you know what? Let's just close this out on a positive note. Let's just be the educators of this conversation. And you know what? Next time around, I'm just going to try to have this little theme at the end of every conversation. We're going to leave people with just a little tidbit, you know, just a little tip or whatsoever, where we would recommend, again, about paying it forward. Because, again, maybe, you know, somebody's listening to us right now and saying, like, you know what? I never thought about that, or a good recommendation. So just going around the table, Dimitri, we'll start with you. And yeah, just leave people with your personal recommendation on how they can improve the craft. You know, just could be anything in terms of I don't know, a tool or whatsoever. So just the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Well, at the risk of repeating myself, I think if I had to recommend to anybody who's a beginner or an enthusiast, but like and wants to know how to improve, I think it really comes down to putting in the work. And I think we mentioned all of this. It's not just shooting, but it's also reading. I spent a lot. I cannot say enough. A lot of time reading blogs, finding photographers that I admire, looking at what other people do. I think that's essential. Not just the masters, but also your contemporaries. Surrounding yourself with other people that are good at it. Like a lot of people that are around me have been big influences. So I think as with any craft, if you ask a musician, they will say the same thing. You have to put in the hours, you have to put in the time, and it really comes down to at the end, and obviously shooting. Like if you just keep reading and stuff, but you never take a picture, you're not gonna get better either. So
obviously.
Like whether it's with your phone, whether it's with that big fancy camera, like go out there and shoot as much as possible.
As much as possible. Thank you, Jim. Viv, throwing it off to you. A little tip that you leave people with.
Well, I'm gonna just put a site out there to check out. Creative Live. Like I've been on that site a lot, learning about. If you don't know about Creative Live, you should need to go.
It's such a great initiative. It's such a great initiative. I have to say.
Like I usually don't hate to plug other people's stuff. Like, but this I will because I've been learning so much for
Creative
free.
Life.
So much for free. Like they get great photographers and they have other sections. So there are other stuff, but just for photography, they have great photographers coming, doing like 3 days classes for free streaming.
The solid array of presenters and photographers, seasoned people that you know. We're not just name dropping again with you know, the Bambi Cantrells and the Che Jarvises and the Zach Arias. You know, again, that very niche group of people that we know are doing great stuff around the photographic community, whether online or off. And all the great names that you know, if you can name them, if you know them, they've been there, and it's definitely worth it. I haven't been in a long time. I used to take some courses like years back, but definitely a very solid find.
It's just that you can learn others. We're talking about learning others kind of photography. Last week I was watching a wildlife photography class, like, and I think my sister saw me. She was like, "Oh, you're planning to do wildlife?" I'm like, "Nope." So why are you watching? Because I don't know. Like I might see something that gives me an idea for
something else.
For something else, or I might go on a trip and shoot some wildlife at some point. Who knows? Like
you never know.
Yeah, I went to South Africa and I had a safari. You know, I wish I had taken a wildlife class.
Like you never know. Like and like it's like I took a studio, just not to make it too long, but I took a studio workshop, and I remember just hating studio photography. That was like, yeah, because I was shooting street and I was shooting like candid, and like for me, studio like posing people were like, I didn't want to do it. But that class taught me so much about light in general. Like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like I knew, like I understood aperture, shutter speed, and light, but that class, that workshop just put me on another level of understanding how the camera works, how the light works, about shadows, about shaping objects with light and shadows.
Your subject and everything, how to communicate with the subject, the entire environment, seeing your environment, reading the light. That
exactly. So Creative Live, you should go on it.
Definitely worth it. Very good recommendation. For me, I'm just gonna close it off as stupid as it sounds. Just from my personal experience, I believe that you shouldn't just wait for that awesome special contract. I'm just how can I phrase it properly? Your opportunity, your subject, that theme you want to. The way I can put it basically is you should. Not take your immediate environment for granted, where that thing you want to shoot or that field you want to venture in is right in front of you. Just like me, my personal experience with shooting candid, shooting events, shooting celebrations just comes from family dinners at my in-laws every Sunday. So there's always cake, there's always somebody laughing, there's always somebody crying, there's music, there's people, there's gatherings. So you learn to position yourself. You learn to read a scene. You learn to know how people are going to react. You learn how to melt away things that were very of good use to me when I shot my first wedding. So because I'd had that experience with my immediate environment, again, I'm not being paid to be there, but hey, I got my camera, and every other Sunday, here I am shooting my mother-in-law, shooting my wife's cousins, shooting everybody playing cards and dominoes and the cake. So I'm shooting food, I'm shooting light, I'm shooting place settings, I'm shooting different things, and eventually, lo and behold, I get hired, and for me, a wedding is just another big-ass dinner. It's the only difference that is most of the people I don't know, but I'm paying paid to be here. But guess what? All these skills I've acquired over the years, this is not news to me. So okay, shoot the cake, shoot the bride. Don't be in this way. Don't be in the how to position yourself. These are little things that you pick up from your immediate environment. And how I'm building on this is because a lot of people will say, like, you know what? I want to shoot cars. I'd like to shoot sports cars, or I'd like to shoot races, but you got a car sitting in your backyard, and I'm sure you know somebody, a friend who has a BMW. Take him out, pay him a car wash, and actually go to an empty parking lot and seriously, just pay for the car wash, take them to an empty parking lot on a Sunday afternoon and shoot their BMW. God, you can do so many things. Use your media environment. Use your friends. Use people. Like, okay, you want to shoot a bride? I don't know, go rent a dress, find one of your friends, find your female friends, like, hey, would you mind just posing for me for like 2 hours? Fine, okay, I'll buy you dinner afterwards. Just, again, I'm just brain farting, guys, but understand that
I think that's a fantastic tip, man. I think that's a fantastic tip. I think when I just started street photography, it was just making me think about this. I was like, wow, I wish I lived in Paris or in New York, because I mean, Winogrand and all these guys were on Cartier-Bresson. They were getting so much fantastic sceneries, and I don't remember if it was Bruce Gilden or something else who just said like the best pictures are happening right there in your neighborhood, wherever you are. Don't have this idea that you have to be in this exotic location to get great pictures. And like you said, even if you're shooting less glamorous environments, then you're still learning so much at that point. So when you do get that bigger opportunity, then you're actually ready. And I think it's the shooting, what you said, like family dinners and all that stuff. I learned so much that way. Like that's I think that's a great tip, to not be waiting. Oh, I just live on this side of Montreal. There's nothing to shoot there. No, for sure. If you're looking properly, there is something to shoot.
There's always something to shoot. There's always something to shoot. Guys, I can't thank you enough for your awesome insight and time, because I know we all have lives, but it's, again, first of all, it's great to see you guys again, even in the virtual world, but on the Hangouts, this is our little corner of the internet. I know Coralie, she just texted me. She said she's actually home and actually watching the end of the broadcast, so hi, Co. I invited her to join us out towards the end, but she said like, no, I'm just really tired. It's like, it'll be okay. But again, it's nice to see you guys again. Again, thank you for joining into the venture. Again, it's our little corner of the internet, and we're just making it our own. This was very candid and unproduced and unfiltered whatsoever, and I think it just went as awesome as possible could. But I do thank you guys again for your wonderful insight. I learned so much from you just sitting down, and just with this conversation just gives me a little bit more, a little oomph to actually, get off my ass and actually start shooting again. I know I'm making excuses, but then again, it only makes this conversation even a lot more valuable. I'll try to get the audio and video up as soon as I can. And but yet again, we have other dates planned, but we'll try to do this again, because it's always fun and always so insightful to get in touch with you guys. So thanks again for such a very insightful, heartwarming conversation. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks for having us. Thanks for hosting this, as usual. And for coming up with fantastic questions and good insights also on your part. So I'm looking forward to the next one, obviously.
Yeah. Definitely. I'll send you guys some more invites, and we'll try to lock down the next one. Not a problem.
Thanks.
All right, guys. You take good care. Have a good night.
Bye.
Take care.
Much love. Ciao.